and in Las Vegas in July. And we're also looking at Denver in June and very likely at a film festival in Albuquerque in June. And so these are all pending, so you just stay tuned if you're in any of these regions of the world. And we're going to hopefully be able, now of course, we're a bit stretched right now with our staff and volunteers to get this premiere rollout on the 22nd, to be honest with everyone. But we do hope that we'll have a system set up where people can help facilitate more screenings in their cities. And we are talking to some regular distributors about doing some limited showings in some major cities around the world on the big screen as well. But those are all things that are in the discussion phase. Right now, what we know we can do is reach everyone who has an internet connection, and they can view it, whether it's on a smartphone or an iPad or a tablet or their computer or their TV at home that's hooked to the internet, that you'll be able to see this film and have a party, have a serious party. If not the night of the premiere, I know it'll be 8 o'clock Pacific time, which is already pretty late on the East Coast and in Europe, but, in Australia it'd be all right. But we're going to, do this launch on the 22nd, but it's going to be a continuing movement to bring this film and the information that's in the film and our strategy to involve the public in creating a new energy, free energy movement that is seriously supported and properly funded and properly staffed. Because I think that anything less than that won't work, because we've tried it, and the Earth deserves it. And I do love the fact that it worked out almost serendipitously that the date that the LA Live Premiere House Theater was available was Earth Day. Believe it or not, that was the only day that we could get this massive premiere theater that's down in Los Angeles at LA Live. And it turned out, I looked at the calendar, I went, well, it's perfect. It's Earth Day. Why not? So when I saw that, I said, well, this is a sign that this is really when we need to move this forward, because ultimately what we're doing is about the Earth and humanity and our future together in space with these visitors from other worlds. And I think that this is very appropriate, that it'll be our way of celebrating Earth Day, is that we're dedicating this effort and this movement and these proceeds to bring out the long-suppressed technologies that literally could give us a new civilization that without pollution and without poverty, and that this is the time to do it. And if we're not going to do it now, what are we waiting for? And I think the longer we wait, the more we're going to see catastrophes, both geophysical and geopolitical, because you cannot have peace in the world where there's no justice, and you cannot have justice where half the world's population is living in poverty because of the zero-sum game of the macroeconomic petrodollar system. And so for that to change, we're going to have enough courage and enough foresight and skill to come together as a people and support that change, and that's really what this film is about.
Yeah, and one of the things you just touched on there is spreading the word. And one thing I know certainly to be true is the Brits are a hard sell on this kind of stuff. So that also really plays into how important the affiliate system is and how important it is to share it with friends, not only in the U.S., but also, internationally, to really start waking up the international communities too.
Well, I have to say, in defense of your fellow, I've always been received very well in Britain, and I've been on the BBC, and I've been at the Sunday Times, did a wonderful article about our work some years ago, and
they're all cynical though.
Every time I've done a presentation in the United Kingdom, we've had a packed house and enthusiastic, wonderful people. And the other place where there's such enormous support for what we're doing, and this surprises people, is in Russia and also China and Australia. We have an enormous number of people who are very supportive. I wish I could get to Australia to do a premiere in Sydney, but I need a U.F.O. to take me there in 5 minutes because it's such a trip from the East Coast of America. But someday I hope to get there. But there are people all over the world, and one of the things I want to point out is that around 4,000 people have contributed to this film. And many of you are listening now at the World Puja, and I want to thank each of you because we would not be able to have done this without the amazing support that's come from the public to get us this far. 100% of these funds have come from folks just like you listening, and we do appreciate it. And I have to say that those of you who contributed, I think it's $11 or more to the crowdfunding of the film, will get a video, one of these video-on-demand views that you'll be able to see on premiere night as well. And Lee is setting that up, and you'll be notified soon of how you can get that view and have your own little premiere party if you cannot be at the premiere. And right now, we expect around 1,100 people at this premiere at both theaters, so it's going to be quite a large event to manage. And but we hope to have hundreds of times that number around the world watching with us on Earth Day on April 22nd.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an event. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And just for purposes of clarification, for anybody out there who's listening and interpreting VOD as just being a set-top box, the movie will be available from SiriusDisclosure.com. So you've got to go to SiriusDisclosure.com to access the player to be able to rent the film.
Right. And also, we will have it also coming out in DVD as well. And so people will be able to get it that way, and we hope within a month or so of the VOD launch. And as I said, there will be a limited theatrical release in a number of cities, and there may be a larger theatrical release depending on what we can arrange. One of the things we haven't wanted to do is to, as Lee mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, was to give up the control of the film to large corporate distribution entities because of the very high risk that they could acquire it and then kill it. And I know people may think I'm a bit cautious. Some would say paranoid, but you're not paranoid if people really are out to get you. And in this sense, we know that there are folks who would like to stop this message, and so we have to be abundantly cautious. And I think the way we can do that the best is to put it back in the hands of all of you listeners and all the people out there, because then you can run from heart to heart and mind to mind with this information, and that's how we get around the traditional stranglehold of the media. And I have to say, a few years ago I was on a show. It was before one of the presidential elections, and I'm not going to give too much detail on this because it would be not helpful, but I'll just say I was on a radio show. There were around 14 million people listening, and the person interviewing me began to ask about certain people who were involved in this so-called Majestic group that's kept this secret. And I started naming some of the people, one of which is a prominent politician that is known, and they went to an unscheduled commercial break, and a voice broke in from a satellite system and said, "Dr. Greer, change the direction of this conversation now, or we are going to dump this show live." This was 14 million people listening, the fourth largest radio show in the world at the time. Now, global. And I said, look, I'm not carrying water for you guys. If you don't want me to answer the question, don't have the interviewer ask it. Now, it turned out the interviewer had no idea who that voice was, but they would have jammed that satellite, and there would have been a dead space, and they would have then put in an old show of mine or an old show of someone else's. So this sort of thing really does happen, and it is not a conspiracy theory. It's just a fact that there are folks who do not want it known that we're not alone in the universe, that we figured out how these UFOs operate, that we could start a whole new civilization free of the petrodollar and pollution and the current macroeconomic system, and we could go forward in a way that would truly democratize the world and be a tide that would lift all ships. But in doing so, the concentrated wealth and power that's in the death grip of 200 or 300 individuals and corporations would slip through their fingers. And so those interests will do this. And this is something that when it happened was so amazing to me and so brazen. But it was just before a presidential election, and I think with that many people listening, they were concerned that if I had stayed on that thread, it could have moved the election. And I'm don't want to go into it any more than that, except to say that this is why all of you listening right now need to understand your involvement in this and seeing that this message and this vision goes forward. It's really in your hands, and that's where it should be.
Yeah. And it really, they can do it through a system that democratizes distribution, which is also really, really great. I'm really looking forward to the release. I think that all of the listeners out there are really going to get behind it, and I think that it's a message that's going to spread quickly. I think it's going to wake people up. I think it's really critical to the survival of our planet. And I'm really excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you, Lee. I'm really, it's amazing to me that a year ago I sort of spoke to an audience and said, I want this to be set up so that everyone in this room, the 1,500 people in this room, yet you can all become distributors, and everyone you know can be a distributor. And I had no idea that technology like yours even existed. And so
yeah.
It was like, the universe served it up and
yeah.
needed. And so, it's thank you very much and your team for your amazing creativity and ingenious ability to make this happen, because I think it's a big part of solving this problem.
It's our pleasure, really.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I'd like to thank you for being with me on the show today, Lee. And again, go to SiriusDisclosure.com, SIRIUS Disclosure.com. And also just a note, if those of you who want to join me for a week under the stars in Crestone, Colorado, in June, I will be there with a team training people in higher consciousness and remote viewing and our contact protocols. And you can find out about that also at SiriusDisclosure.com. And also we'll be taking a team to the crop circles and to the sacred places in England in July. And so those of you who want to join us on that expedition, there's information there as well. So until next time, thank you at the World Puja Network for hosting us. And until then, keep looking up, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.